Welcome to Santo YouTube Stories. We're so excited to have you here today. Thank you for choosing us as your destination for stories that inspire, educate, and entertain. Today, we have a story that many of you may relate to, a story of a man who starts out making poor financial choices but learns the value of financial wisdom, smart decisions, and the power of changing old habits. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the journey of the smart money man. The illusion of success. In the heart of a bustling city, there lived a young man named Eric. From the outside, Eric seemed like he had it all, charming, confident, and always dressed in the latest fashion. He worked in a prestigious corporate job, earning a decent salary that many would envy. But despite his outward appearance of success, Eric was in a constant state of financial struggle. You see, Eric had always been obsessed with keeping up with his friends and colleagues. They drove flashy cars, wore expensive clothes, and frequently dined at exclusive restaurants. Eric, in his desire to fit in and prove that he was just as successful as they were, began to make poor financial decisions. He would use his credit cards to buy things he couldn't afford, sign up for subscriptions he didn't need, and spend lavishly on nights out. Everyone else is doing it, so why shouldn't I? He thought to himself. His paycheck, though seemingly large, never seemed to stretch far enough. His savings account was empty, his debts piled up, and the pressure of living paycheck to paycheck began to take its toll. Yet, Eric continued down the path of financial ignorance, thinking that as long as he looked successful on the outside, everything would eventually fall into place. The wake-up call. One day, after a particularly lavish weekend trip to an exotic location with his friends, Eric returned home to find an unsettling letter in his mailbox. It was from his bank, informing him that his credit card payments were overdue and that he was in danger of missing his next payment. His stomach sank as he looked at the mounting debt he had accumulated. To make matters worse, he checked his bank account balance, only to find that he had less than a few $100s left, with bills and expenses coming up soon. The weight of his financial mismanagement hit him like a ton of bricks. Eric realized that he had been living in a financial bubble, one that had now burst. The stress began to affect his work and personal life. He was constantly worried about his finances, unable to focus on anything else. The pressure of keeping up with appearances was no longer worth the sleepless nights and anxiety that followed. That night, Eric sat down and made a decision. I need to change. I need to start making smart money choices. The journey to financial wisdom. Eric's journey toward financial freedom didn't happen overnight. It was a process that took time, effort, and a lot of self-reflection. He began by acknowledging that he needed to take full responsibility for his financial choices and that no one but him could change his situation. The first step was to educate himself. Eric spent hours reading books, watching videos, and listening to podcasts about personal finance. He learned about the importance of budgeting, saving, investing, and managing debt. Slowly, he started to understand the mistakes he had made and how he could turn his financial situation around. Next, Eric tackled his debt. He created a debt repayment plan and committed to paying off his credit cards and loans as quickly as possible. He stopped using his credit cards for unnecessary purchases and focused on living within his means. Every month, he put aside a portion of his income into a savings account, no matter how small the amount seemed. Eric also began to set financial goals. He created a plan for short-term, mid-term, and long-term savings, and focused on building an emergency fund. The more he educated himself, the more he realized that financial freedom wasn't about how much money you made, it was about how you managed what you had. The transformation. As the months passed, Eric's financial situation began to improve. His credit card debt slowly decreased, and his savings grew. He stopped comparing himself to others and focused on his own journey. He started to enjoy the process of building financial security, and for the first time, he felt in control of his money. Eric's friends began to notice the change. They saw that he no longer spent impulsively or flaunted material possessions. Instead, he was more grounded, focused on his future, and confident in his financial decisions. One day, his friend David, who had always been the life of the party, approached him with a question. "Eric, you've changed. You're different now. What's your secret?" Eric smiled and replied, "I've learned that it's not about the lifestyle you can afford, it's about the life you can build for yourself through smart choices. I stopped living for others and started living for myself." David was inspired by Eric's transformation and asked for advice on how to start making smarter financial decisions. Eric, feeling proud of how far he had come, shared the principles that had guided him: live below your means, save and invest for the future, get out of debt as quickly as possible, learn to manage money, not just make it. Don't compare your financial journey to anyone else's. The new beginning. With his newfound financial wisdom, Eric continued to grow and build a secure financial future. He was no longer burdened by debt or the pressure of keeping up with others. He had built a solid foundation of savings and investments, and he started to focus on long-term goals, such as buying a home and planning for retirement. As he looked back on his journey, Eric realized how much he had learned about himself. It wasn't just about money. It was about taking control of his life and making choices that aligned with his values and goals. He had learned that true success wasn't about appearances, but about creating a life of financial stability, peace, and freedom. Thank you for watching The Smart Money Man and following Eric's journey of financial awakening. We hope this story has inspired you to reflect on your own financial choices and reminded you that it's never too late to take control of your money and build a brighter